Of all the attributes separating top producing salespeople from the rest, the one that I believe is most powerful is the mindset of taking complete ownership over everything that happens in my relationship with my clients. I've got to own it. It's got to be mine. I'm responsible. Whether or not it's my fault doesn't matter. I own it. You know, psychologists refer to this as locus of control. We're not talking about insects today. Locus of control, which is defined as how strongly people believe that they have control over the situations and experiences that affect their lives. And it's broken into two halves, two types of salespeople out there. There are the internals and the externals. Those with the internal locus of control believe that everything that happens to them is a result of things they have done or haven't done or are capable of doing. So an internal who's struggling in their sales may be thinking to themselves, hey, you know what, I've got to get out on more sales calls. I've got to get a better understanding of my product and my competition. I've got to follow up better than I have been, right? These all come from inside. Whereas someone with an external may say, you know what, I have a territory that's too small, my boss isn't treating me fairly, my pricing's not good enough, the product's broken, our service levels aren't where they need to be. You see the difference. It's significant, it's important, and it can be all the difference in our ability to be successful and own what we're taking forward. I have a friend of mine, his name's Ken Taylor. Ken is a national public speaker, author, an amazing individual, sales coach, and he and I have been friends now for several years. He came and spoke at a national sales meeting I attended in 2006, and he was unbelievable. Ever since then, he and I become friends. He's helped be a tremendous mentor to me as I've come along with my sales and speaking, and he's one of these guys who gives, and will never accept any help. Until actually a couple of years ago, he actually did call and ask me if I could give him some advice. He was considering writing a book, and it was going to be a compilation of the 100 best things he's ever taught people, that he's ever written about, that he's ever put together newsletters for, and he wanted my opinion of what I thought the value of the book would be and how he should set it up. And of course, I thought it was an amazing idea, having seen him speak and having read a lot of what he's written. So I told him, yeah, absolutely, go for it. In fact, I'll buy the first copy, and I'll buy a copy for all of my salespeople. So he went and did it. And a few months later, the first copy of his book, which is called Life Without Limits, showed up in my mailbox, and I sat down to read it. As I began reading through it, it was exactly what he said it would be. It's quick-hitting, actionable ideas, great, uplifting, inspirational stories. It was exactly what I anticipated. Until I got to page 55. When I got to page 55, in a chapter titled, Life is Not Fair, here's what Ken said. I know a man whose father committed suicide when the boy was 6. 6 months later, he lost the sight in his right eye due to an accident. When he was a boy, the family lost everything they had when their house burned to the ground. A little embarrassed, he wore donated clothes to school. All of his grandparents died before he reached the age of 13. His mother died of cancer when he was 12, and he was moved around from relative to relative. Too poor to pay for his college, his only hope was a scholarship. His first child was born handicapped, and he almost went bankrupt following his dream to be a professional speaker. Who was that man? That man is me. That's right, folks. As I sat here reading this, I could not believe what I had just read, and the shocking realization of what had actually happened to this gentleman who I had known, or at least thought I had known, for a dozen years. We've been to dinner 20 times together. We've talked on the phone endlessly. All these times, all these experiences, he never once mentioned the great tragedies that he had endured in his life. So I called him and I said, my gosh, Ken, I can't believe now, for the first time, you've done 1 million seminars. You've done a million newsletters. You've met all these people around the world, and you've never once mentioned this until page 55 of a book you wrote this far into your career? And his response was pretty simple. He said, no. And I don't even see why I would have considered to do that. Yeah, these things happen, but they don't define who I am. I was never going to use these as a reason to fail because I knew what I wanted to do and I knew who I wanted to become. And I also wasn't going to use them as some badge of honor out there that I put in front of people to say, look what I overcame. All I did was go out and do what I intended to do. And that's the reason it's on page 55, because I just don't view it as that big a deal. And that, frankly, folks, that's proven out now when you move one more paragraph down into that chapter. And he goes on to further define how he really feels about this topic when he says, no, my life was not fair. But I learned early that things happen for reasons we cannot always fathom. What's important is this: each day you approach your life with a renewed excitement. Each day you set goals and make dreams. Each day you try to touch someone in a positive way. Hey everybody, you control your ability to look within for answers. Let's go.